What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your Lake Fork Guide. This will be the best video you'll find on the one thing that has revolutionized and changed everything about bass fishing. Today we're going to give you a complete guide, everything you need to know on how to get started and how to get better using Livescope. Before we go further into this, figure y'all might want to see this. Here's a few catches. Came out for a short time today on Lake Fork. Good calm day, sunny day. Couldn't pass up the opportunity to get out for a few hours, even though I got some other things going on today. So here's a few catches from today on Livescope.
Lots of boats around us, so I gotta be quiet. That's a little fish to eat that big of a woolly booger there, boys. Cool catch. Very cool bite. Good fish, too. Good fish. That one. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Don't. But what a catch. What a catch. Dude, this crap's addicting, bro. This is so cool, man. Another solid one. Another solid. Not a salad, but a solid. Good job, Bass. Oh, that's so much fun. It's literally a new version, nice one, dude. New version of sight fishing. Fat one. Oh, okay. But. Chunky. Bad sunlight, that's better. Now you can see him better. Good job, little fish.
Man, Livescope has changed everything in bass fishing. This is the single most influential and important advancement in this sport in the history of it. It has changed so much. It's made everybody more efficient at every kind of fishing. And today we're going to explain to you how to use it for all different types of fishing. We're not just going to talk about open water minnow shaking or woolly booger dangling. We're going to teach you how to use Livescope today for whatever kind of fishing it is that you do, because it is a tool. It's an efficiency tool at its core. It is an efficiency tool, and the more efficient you are as an angler, the more catches you get and the bigger catches you get. So it is utmost important to understand this technology and be able to use it. Now listen, if you're against Livescope, turn the video off now. That's all this video is about. You can go fishing the way you always have, and I'm not mad at you, so don't be mad at me for using Livescope, okay? It is what it is. But yeah, this thing's revolutionized everything about bass fishing. We've all seen what's going on the tournament, and now your everyday angler, a lot of them are getting really good with it, and it's changing. It has so much influence. It's revolutionizing things so much that it's changing how fish behave. Even if you don't learn how to use this, you really are playing at a disadvantage in this game. When I say this is going to be the best video, I don't mean that to be an arrogant statement, but I feel like I identify with the everyday angler more so than most people that do it for a living. I came from a background where I was a working man in my 30s when I started this gig, and I was a working man in my 30s fishing out of an old used boat and just scrounging for every fishing report I could, trying to figure out how to catch them. So when I say it's going to be the best, I mean it's going to be the best from the vast majority of y'all's perspectives. I'm going to break it down in a manner that's going to be very digestible for the average weekend angler. So let's start with talking about the unit that I use. Now I'm saying Livescope, to me that's like saying I want a Coke. I don't necessarily mean Coca-Cola in Texas. Y'all know that. Like that might mean Pepsi, that might mean Dr. Pepper or whatever. When I say Livescope or Scope, that's just the brand for Ford Facing Sonar. I'm using Lowrance Active Target 2 is what I'm using. And the setup on that, which that's where you got to start. You got to start with the settings. Man, Lowrance is probably the most user-friendly set of graphs on every aspect of it. It translates to forward facing as well. All I do with my Lowrance Active Target 2 is adjust the contrast, right? And I go to auto plus 10. So I actually turn it way up. With forward facing, I want to receive as much information as I can. I want to see everything that swims. I want to be able to judge the size of it for myself, and we're going to teach you how to judge that size as well today. But I want to see a lot of information. So I actually turn the, highlight up, or whatever you want to call it. The sensitivity is what we would call it on old school stuff, but the contrast, I turn it up to auto plus 10. That's the only adjustment I make on Lowrance Active Target 2. Now on Garmin, that's going to be your gain, and I don't know what it is on Humminbird. So very simple sensitivity settings there. Now what do we want to put it on for a range? So I run my unit at 30 feet of depth and 100 feet looking out. Here's the thing, keep it at 3-to-1. If you're going to be fishing, if you're going to set it to 15 foot, put it at 45 or as close to it as you can. You want to be near that 3-to-1. If you get outside of that 3-to-1 ratio, I know it should be 30-90, but I don't have a 90 on mine, so I do 30-100. But if you get outside of that 3-to-1 ratio, it kind of monkeys up your image, distorts, elongates fish different ways, and really just a lot of times you have too much length for how much depth you have. The end of your image, you just don't see much. You lose a lot in that image quality towards the end of it if you don't keep that 3-to-1 ratio. What I suggest to everyone, whatever depth you normally fish in, so if you're always less than 20 feet, man, set it to 20-60 if you want to. I like 30-100 or 30-90 because, number one, I like to be able to see 90 to 100 feet out, so I want my 30-foot depth so I can keep my picture looking good all the way out at the end of it. Also, man, once you get it set, keep it the same. Do not change it. So even if I'm fishing, like right now, I'm power pulled down in a few feet of water. I literally just caught a fish off a stump right over there in 5 foot of water. My settings are still on 30 feet and 100 feet. I get used to seeing the scale of the targets and the scale of the fish. This is how you become good at knowing what size fish they are. You see enough fish, you catch some of them, you get them in the boat, you know how big they looked on your screen, you see them in your hands, you can now start making that mathematical equation in your head. And if you change your range on your depth and distance, it's going to change the size of the fish on your screen, and you're never going to have really sharp capabilities of judging size accurately. So I think it's very important to always keep your range the same. Even if you're only looking at a little sliver of screen in 4 foot of water, I think it's important to stick with it. All right, so let's say you've got it set at 30-90, or you're like me on Active Target, you got it set at 30-100, 30 foot down, 100 foot out. Whatever bait you're going to choose to throw at the fish, before you even look for a fish and throw at them, test the distance you can throw that bait. So just get your transducer pointed straight ahead and fire that thing as far as you can comfortably, so you know how far you can make an accurate cast and hit your cone and what your max distance is. So like with the big fuzzy balls right now, if I'm going into a little bit of wind, the max distance I'm getting on those is 60 feet. So even though I've got 100 feet on my screen, because I'm going to keep my scale the same, I'm going to actually make sure I'm at least 60 feet. Somewhere in that 40 to 60 foot window is where I'm going to cast at that fish, not outside of that, because I'm going to mess up my first cast. And it's so important to make your first cast a good one. The first cast Very, very important when you're live scoping. That's your best chance to catch the fish all the time. Having said that, make sure that you are at least 40 feet away from the fish when you do cast, okay? You do not want to be casting at fish at 20 feet and 30 feet. I honestly do not believe I've ever caught a fish that has been within 20 to 30 feet of my boat. I think every fish that I've caught has been at least 35 or 40 feet away when I first made the cast to him. Now, they may follow the bait and bite it at 20 feet or 15 or 30 or whatever, but when I make the cast to them, I'm at least 40 feet away 99.999% of the time. And really, you want to be as far away as you can making an accurate cast. So like with a fuzzy ball, I try to throw at fish at 60 feet. I'll really 55 to 60, maybe 50. I try to be that far away when I make that first cast to every fish when I'm throwing the big fuzzy balls. Oh, Willy Booger. Y'all know what I'm talking about, those daggum prickly pear, pointy, you know what I'm saying. Now, if I'm throwing a jerkbait per se, I have jerkbaits that I can throw 90 feet. And it takes a little while for a jerkbait to get down. So with a jerkbait, I'll try to cast at fish when they're about 75 or 80 feet away, giving myself about 10 foot to get that jerkbait down to them. And I don't mind casting them at 60 with a jerkbait either, okay? I just never want to be too close. So the further away I can be, the better. If I happen to see them at 60, I'll go ahead and make the cast. If I see them at 40, I'll either back up if I feel like I can do that quietly, or I'll simply actually loop around them and reset up on them so I can be the proper distance to make a good cast. Always try to make that first cast a good distance away from them. All right, the next thing, how do you cover water and locate these fish? I want you to do what I call the burst and scan. So originally when I started, I scanned like this. Now that I can cover water, and you can say I'm going about 45 degrees to 45 degrees, right? 45, I'm scanning back and forth, looking at my trolling motor, and I was on the go button as I went, and I got to where I could do that with my trolling motor, my Ultrex, on about 60 or 70% of max. I could sit there and go back and forth, and I could see fish, usually see them at 90 or so, 100, whatever, and right at when they got on the screen, and I could stop before they got inside of that 50-foot mark and be able to throw at them. Now, what I think is a much better way to do it is to put my trolling motor up on like 8 or 9 and have it go straight forward and burst it and go, get it going real good, and then let off and then scan as I'm coasting. Same 45-degree scanning pattern, right? 45, but I'm scanning while I'm coasting, not while I'm on the trolling motor. This does a couple things. Number one, when you're on go, when you've got the juice to the trolling motor, when you're on the button, it rocks your trolling motor shaft back a little and makes your screen point down. And that can distort your image, elongate cover, elongate fish, and make you miss some fish. Some of these fish that are tight to trees, you'll miss them because they'll just look like they're blended in as part of the tree if your image is distorted from angling down too much while you're on the go. So you get a better, cleaner image. Number two, man, if you're turning with the juice on the trolling motor and you're always fighting the turn all the time, you're going to burn your dang batteries up. If you're really getting after doing that all day on a long day, you can actually burn your trolling motor batteries all the way up doing that. So you save battery and you get a better image. Be sure to have a good pace on your scan. You want to scan as fast as you can. You want to cover as much water as fast as you can. Don't miss things. Don't miss fish, especially. Don't miss fish. So scan at a nice smooth tempo from your 45 to 45 and make sure you've got enough time to see everything as you're panning back and forth. Don't go too fast. Have a nice medium pace on your scan. All right, the next tip is a little top secret juice right here, okay? Throw at unique cover for hidden fish. Some of these fish, you're not going to see every fish. There's going to be fish that end up in front of your transducer that you just don't see. They can get very tight to standing timber like we have here at Lake Fork. Brush piles, they can get, you can have half a dozen fish in a brush pile and not see any of them. If I see something like a brush pile, it's in the right depth where I've been finding fish that day, I throw at it every time. I can't tell you how many times I've pulled not only one, but multiple fish out of brush. I've got a clip here of a fish, well, a school of fish actually. You guys saw it on a video a week or two ago where I threw at a tree that had a bunch of limbs and it just looked like a solid bush at the top of that tree because it's a real brushy tree. When I got my bait and worked it through there and got it past there, you see an entire school of fish start to come out off of that tree if you look closely. I didn't see any of those fish before I threw at that tree. So if you see unique cover, brush piles, bushy trees, one of my favorites is all this standing pole timber, and then I got one that's laid over and hung up on a tree and it's crossways. So on Lake Fork, if I ever see a branchy tree laying crossways, leaning up against another one, or even 45, if it's thick at all and I feel like a fish could hide pretty good, I throw at it every time. And I've pulled a lot of fish off of cover where I didn't see a fish when I threw in there, and it pulled off of that dense cover to come check out my bait. All right, let's talk about how to use it for different types of fishing. So do not just use this in deep or open water. I mean, obviously we don't have much open water on Fork with standing timber throughout most of the lake. But even on lakes that do have more open water, man, yeah, it works great in open water. But man, that is not the only time to use this. This is an efficiency tool that you can make yourself better at any type of fishing. I catch a lot of fish cranking from 4 or 5 foot on out to, deep cranking. You guys saw a video last week. I caught fish on a chatterbait in like 2 foot of water where I was just seeing little blobs on the bottom. Wasn't sure how big some of them were. Some of them I could see good, some of them I couldn't. But if I could see a little bit of a blob on the bottom or a little bit of movement in 2 foot of water, with my range at 3100, by the way, so I'm only looking at a tiny sliver of the screen, I would throw my chatterbait past that fish, past that blob. I would reel it over the top of the fish, shake, and drop it right on top of the fish. And if I saw, a lot of times when I did that, I would see movement. You'd see the fish turn around and kind of nose down on the bait. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but that's what it looked like to me. And then I would start kind of snapping and hopping and shaking it like a jig, as if I was fishing a jig on a bed or something. Basically just kind of imaginary bed fishing a jig, but it's a chatterbait out in the water where I can't see nothing other than on my screen. So all kinds of unique things you can do. Also, fish your confidence. Like I'm talking about fishing a chatterbait. You don't hear guys talking about scoping with a chatterbait in 2 foot of water. Well, you guys just watched me do it last week, right? You guys saw the week before that. I was using a flat-sided Little John crankbait to catch fish that were suspending in timber around creek channel and mouths of spawning bays on Lake Fork. And had a really good day. Caught some big fish and lost some big fish that day. Unfortunately, we got a lot of big bites that day doing that. So the opportunities are endless. Use this to tell you what's going on. And really use it to, more than anything else, pattern fish. What I mean by that is, we've talked about for years, the old school stuff is like, which third of the creek arms are they in? The first third, second third, last third? What depth are they in? What type of cover are they hanging around the best? Is it brush, is it timber, is it grass, whatever, rock? This can tell you all of that in such a fast time just by covering water and looking and paying attention and noticing where fish are. Like, the deal with the Little John was me just paying attention. Okay, these fish are in 8 to 10 foot of water, maybe 12 foot of water, right? But they're suspending up 5 to 8 foot. Well, I've got a Little John crankbait that'll get to that depth. I can bounce it off that timber they're suspended on and maybe get a reaction. And sure enough, there it goes. You guys saw the result. So it can just, no matter what you're doing, the only time Livescope's not really useful is like if you're fishing shallow water with really, really heavy cover, a lot of grass, a lot of flooded stuff, Livescope's not going to show you much in there. I don't turn it on when I'm in that situation. Other than that, turn it on, leave it on, look around with it. If you're anywhere from 2 or 3 foot on out to 20 or 30 foot, you can see fish with this. And if I can make more of my casts throughout the day directly at a fish, I'm automatically going to be better. Some days are still going to be tough. Some days are going to be awesome. Most days are going to be in between. But I'm going to be better if I'm making more casts directly at a fish because I'm using scope. In this particular cove, I just caught a couple fish, and they're inside the mouth. They're about halfway back, in like the middle third of this cove, and they're sitting on timber in about 5 or 6 foot. Like little details like that, noticing those things. Okay, now how do I approach it? And today I'm throwing the big woolly booger at them, the old fuzzy ball. But, it could have been a lot of different things, but I'm patterning where those fish, they're sitting right up against timber. They're in 5 or 6 foot, and they're in the middle half of the cove. Now I can go to the next pocket. Guess where I'm going to go? I'm going to go to the middle third of the cove. I'm going to look at 5 or 6 foot. I'm going to see more fish. And once you've done that in a couple spots on a lake, now you just open up the whole lake, guys. You become immune to pressure. You become immune to crowded lakes, right? When you get it figured out. On the days when you can pattern the fish and go middle third of the creek, 5 or 6 foot of water, sitting on timber. Okay, cool. I can run that pattern in 1,000 areas on Lake Fork today. So if I pull into my next area and there's 3 boats in there, I just go to the next one. There's 3 boats in that one, just keep going until I find one that nobody's fishing. And then you got fish all to yourself that aren't pressured. They're going to be more willing to bite. it's just, I don't even know if I can really quantify and explain how valuable of a tool this thing is. All right, last thing I'll say is fish. You know, I said it once before, I'll say it again. I want to reiterate a little bit and expand on it. Fish your confidence. So, man, if you're a spinnerbait guy, like if you really like to fish spinnerbait, man, use scope, but then run that spinnerbait over their head and jangle them blades a little bit, manipulate that bait, let it fall, snap it off the bottom. You can use your imagination. Do things that will make fish react. Fish your baits that you're confident in, that you have you're really comfortable and you have really good control over that bait, right? You have high bait awareness with that particular technique, and then manipulate that bait to get reaction bites. Think about a cat with a laser pointer on the floor. The red dot's on the floor. The cat's watching it. You move it around, the cat just kind of watches it. And then if you go, the cat goes, pow. These fish are the same way. The exact same way. So one of my favorite things that I'll do, and I did it with the Little John a little bit. I've done it with deeper crankbaits. I've done it with a 10-foot diver here recently. Fish have been about 10 foot. I've caught several fish, a lot of fish really, on a 10-foot diving crankbait. I get the bait down there by the fish. If they're 10 foot down on the timber, I get that 10-foot diver to go down there and try to hit that timber right where that fish is sitting next to that tree. If he's on the bottom, I try to hit the bottom right next to that fish. Once that fish pays attention to that bait, so if I come through and I hit that that tree 10 foot down, I hit that tree and I come off that tree a little bit, I pause. If that fish lurches out towards that bait at all, looks at it, I start whap, 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 just snapping it. Like snapping it. You guys saw that in a video. Here's a clip of it. I'm just snapping the rod violently once the fish is paying attention to the bait. And man, a lot of times they will bite it. Sometimes I just pause and the crankbait starts floating up and I start it. So I just go, pause, and the fish gets on it. I go, like it's running away from him, and then stopping and backing up in his face. I catch a lot of fish doing that. Do different things to manipulate the bait to get reaction bites, but you can only do that highly effectively with baits that you have a lot of comfort with, that you're confident in. So that's what I mean when I say fish your confidence. You're still scoping, you're still looking at the fish, you're still making your bait do tricks to get them to bite, just like the guys do by twitching a jerk bait over their head and making it run away from them as they pursue it, and just like guys do with the fuzzy ball. When they start twitching that fuzzy ball, the closer they get, the more they twitch it and run it away from them. Like, same scenario, you can do that with a lot of different baits. And the most important part of all this is Livescope. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around it for tournament fishermen. Most of you guys, if you fish a tournament, it's not one that is life-changing. It's just for fun. Make this fun. Make this fun. Don't make Livescope work. Listen, if you're hungry and you want to be the best tournament fisherman you can be, then you're going to have the drive to get better at this with scope, and you're going to naturally enjoy that process. Like, if you're not enjoying the process of getting better, you're probably not made to be a tournament fisherman as a career anyway, right? So if you're just a recreational hobby fisherman and you're out there with scope and you just get frustrated and get tired of fish looking at your bait and not biting, quit. Go fish the way you know how to fish. Don't force it, man. Don't make it not fun, right? Don't make it not fun. Also, I didn't mention this. I need to mention this. As you learn with scope, be very, very, very prepared, okay, to see so many fish react to your bait, get close to your bait, look at your bait, and not bite. You're not doing anything wrong. It happens to all of us. And this really will be the last thing that I will say. I can go on for days. I'm excited. I'm enjoying my learning with scope this year. I've really been digging into it a lot. I'm really enjoying it. But this really will be the last thing I say. Speed. Okay. Being efficient in how you cover water, that's a big deal. The guy that finds more fish catches more fish. Also, don't sit there and try to force fish to bite. If a fish has followed your bait once or twice, especially if he's followed it twice and he's not biting, move on to the next fish. You're better off to invest your time. There's so many fish on any given day on a lake that will bite on the first cast if you do it right. If you're positioned right, you get the right bait on them, they'll bite. As soon as you throw it in there and start twitching, they'll come bite it. There's so many fish in the lake that will do that you are actually better off to spend your time looking for those. Look for the dumb ones. Don't waste your time trying to trick the smart ones. Go find another dumb one. It's a way better way to spend your time. It's a more effective way to spend your time. If you sit there and get caught up trying to trick fish into biting that just don't want to bite, man, you're going to waste a lot of time. You're not going to catch that many fish, okay? It's something I struggle with. I struggle with this bad. Like, with my heavy sight fishing background, I get hung up on fish and want to make them bite, and you can't. Like, most of these live scope fish, you ain't going to trick them into biting if they're not going to bite. They're either going to react aggressively and bite, or they're not, right? And usually it's on the first cast. If it's not on the first, it's on the second. Like I said, if they've ignored your bait one time, just move on. If they have followed your bait twice and not bit, move on. Go find a dumb one. There's plenty of them out there, I promise you. It's a lot like Democrats in that way. You know what I mean? 10 seconds, liberal tears. All right, guys, that's it. There's the old Livescope Bible, so to speak. That's I'm sure I've left some things out. I almost left the speed deal out, and that may be the most important tip of the whole thing, is being efficient and not wasting your time on fish. Go looking for the easier ones to catch. That may be the most important tip of the whole video, and I almost forgot it. So I'm sure there is something I forgot, and I apologize if I did. I'm sure I will add it into another video at some point as I remember it. So subscribe, follow the channel. You know what to do, man. We're going to be giving you bass fishing knowledge all year long, baby. So come back and see us, and we'll keep trying to do the best we can to help everybody catch more and bigger fish. And we'll see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.